Hello everybody. Today is June 1st and we are less than 3 weeks away from leaving for our long road trip down to Ruidoso, New Mexico for the Model A Ford Club of America National Convention. That's going to be about 1,200 miles one way for us. So today we're going to film the overhaul of the vehicle. We're going to go through everything maintenance wise and make sure she's ready to go. That trip will be the better part of 3 weeks, over 2,600 miles round trip. So we need to make sure the old girl is fit and ready to go. We're going to change all the fluids today. We're going to lubricate the chassis and go through everything else, make sure she's top ship shape. And I'll also show you all the spare parts that I'll be taking with us along, just to make sure if we run into trouble we have what we need to fix it. So thanks for coming along, and let's get this car maintained. Let me preface this video by saying there's lots of different ways to do maintenance on a Model A. What I'm showing in the video is how I've been doing it for 40 years. If you've got a different way of doing it, I'd love to hear all about it in the comments. Thank you. Of course, any maintenance overhaul starts with a good oil change. As luck would have it, this car was due for one anyway, so the timing worked out perfect. An aftermarket accessory that I highly recommend is this little oil catch tray. They call it the rear main janitor, and it clips onto the bolts of your bell housing and catches all the drips that come out of the bottom of your flywheel cover. This is a great little thing that minimizes the drips on your garage floor. Every time I do an oil change, I take it off and empty it out, but I highly recommend this. It's very simple to install, just clicks in and off. I do recommend that you do remove it if you wash your car though, because it's pretty easy to fill it up with water if you're doing a car wash. If you want to start a heated discussion at any Model A gathering, just ask which oil you put in your car. You'll get as many different opinions as there are Model A owners. The truth of the matter is, just about any oil on the shelf today is at least 10 if not 100 times better than anything they had in the 1920s and the 1930s. So any 5W30, 10W40, anything in that weight range is perfectly fine in a Model A. You change the oil so often, especially when you don't have an oil filter like me. I change the oil about every 1,000 miles. It's never in the car long enough to possibly do any harm. So just buy the cheapest 5W30, 10W40 oil you can find at any store and run with it. End of discussion. The oil that you want to put in your transmission and your differential is a 600 weight oil. Now this is an extremely thick, sticky oil. It's almost like molasses. And when you guys order this, make sure you get the real stuff. There are some parts houses out there that try and pass off 90 weight gear oil as what you should put in your transmission and your differential. And 90 weight gear oil is not as thick and heavy and sticky as the real thing. So make sure you get the real McCoy. This stuff takes a long time to flow into anything, and to get out, but it's what your transmission and differential needs. It really sticks to the gears. It's almost like honey. It's so sticky. So get the right product.
It sure is a pain having to pull the floorboards up in order to refill the transmission case. Yeah, I know you can do it without pulling the floorboards, but that's just as much of a pain. Since I have to pull the carpet up to get to the throwout bearing to lubricate that anyway, this is the better option. I know some guys cut a hole on the passenger side of the floorboard to gain access. I was just always afraid I'd cook my passenger's feet since the muffler's right below. Anybody that has cut the hole on the passenger side, I'd love to hear how your passengers feel about it. When I get rich and famous, the first thing I'm going to buy is a shop that has a high enough ceiling that I can put a vehicle lift in it. Having to change the differential oil in these Model A's is one of the reasons I'm so jealous of you guys that have a lift. This job is a real pain. Refilling your differential with 600 weight oil is an exercise in patience. I know there's got to be a better way to do it, but I haven't figured it out. I just use this piece of surgical tubing and a funnel, pour the oil in and wait, pour the oil in and wait, pour the oil in and wait. By the time you get this thing full, you've earned that cold adult beverage. The last place that we put 600 weight oil is in the steering box. Hopefully yours does not have a Zerk fitting and have it full of grease. It's supposed to have oil, not grease. A lot of people change them out with Zerk fittings when the box bushings have worn out and all the oil leaks on the ground. But the correct solution is to rebuild the steering box. A very common overlooked lubrication point is your throttle linkage. Between the block and the firewall, you got these little oil cups here on top of your throttle linkage. There's one on each side. Just put a couple drops of oil there every once in a while. That helps keep your throttle working nice and smooth. A request my wife has made is that I remove the auto light heater cover before we leave on this trip. We're going to be traveling through the Las Vegas Basin in late June. It's surely going to be well over 100 degrees. We will not need this heater. And even though it has a little door to shut the air off from going into the cab, some of the air always escapes past the door. By removing this cover, hopefully I can save my wife a few degrees of temperature on the passenger side. And who knows, hopefully it'll help the engine run a little cooler as well. There are 3 points inside the distributor that need attention. Hopefully your distributor has been upgraded to the more modern drilled upper shaft. That way you can take a little oil bottle, stick it in the hole, and squirt some oil right down the hole to get that upper bushing lubricated. And then you've got the little spring-loaded pull-out that allows you to squirt a little oil down and get the bottom bushing lubricated. This is much easier to get to now that I have the heater cover removed. And finally, you need to put a little cam lubrication on your cam lobes. That'll help keep your point block from wearing down and having your points close up on you. Just a little dab, smear it around in a couple places on the lobe, and that'll do the trick just fine.
Okay, we're done playing in the oils. Now it's time to play in the grease.
If you're a Model A owner, you have plenty of opportunity to use your grease gun. No wonder they invented sealed bearings. Before we put the floor all back together, let's give that throwout bearing Zerk a few squirts of grease. The fourth grease Zerk is on the front side of the handbrake bushing. It's hard to find and even more of a pain to get to if you don't have a car lift. I apologize, I didn't get a very good camera angle when I did this one. Just like the rear axle roller bearings, I don't think the universal joint can get too much grease. So be generous with it and fill her up. On the front passenger side, you've got plenty of Zerks to attend to. You've got one on the brake actuation arm. You've got 2 on the shackle bushings. You have 2 on the kingpin bushings. And you have 1 on the end of the tie rod. On the driver's side, you have the same ones that you had on the passenger side, plus you have one on each end of the drag lane.
Okay, we're done playing with the grease gun. Man, is that a messy job. Now it's time to play with the axle grease. We're going to repack the car's front wheel bearings. It hasn't been that long since I've done this car's front wheel bearings, but as far as we have to go, I'm not going to take any chances. We're going to give it a fresh set of grease on those front bearings. I do know of a Model A owner who was going to go on a multiple week trip. He didn't bother to check his front wheel bearings, and he seized up a bearing on the first 100 miles of his trip. So we don't want to take any chances as far as we have to go. I want to make sure everything's up to par. So we're going to go ahead and repack these bearings again.
If you were someone who enjoyed making mud pies when you were a little kid, then packing wheel bearings should be right up your alley. You just grab a big old handful of grease and cream it into the bearing, cream it in there, and cream it in there, and cream it in there until you get all the nooks and crannies and all the sides of the rollers packed in grease. It's a messy job, but it can be kind of fun. When it comes to tightening the axle nut, I crank it down pretty good till when I start feeling resistance in the drum, get those bearings to seat in the races real good. And then once I feel resistance on the drum, I'll back it off till the resistance is gone, and then line it up so I can get the cotter pin in the hole.
Okay, I went ahead and finished the other front wheel bearing packing off camera. So other than a good wash and wax, we are just about ready to go. I wanted to show you some of the spare parts that we take with us just to make sure we have anything we need. Of course, we got a tire jack and blocks of wood to make sure the tire jack will reach the axle. We always carry extra water. We got the engine crank in case we have to retime the car for any reason. Always have a fire extinguisher. We carry these safety flashers. These are great little things. Not only if you have a breakdown, but also if you are on the freeway out in the west, in the rural areas of the west, the speed limits on the freeways can be 70 miles an hour. Some places it's even 80 miles an hour. And if you're going along at 50 miles an hour, people are not going to realize you're going that slow. They're going to come flying up on you. We stick a couple of these on the back of our car anytime we're forced on the freeway that has a super high speed limit, just to let people know that we're not going that fast. It has several different patterns. You can change the pattern in it to whatever you like. It even has a built-in flashlight if you click it far enough. So we carry a bunch of these with us just in case we ever have a breakdown or when we're traveling on a freeway that we're not keeping up with traffic. We have an extra distributor that's already been timed to the engine. We got an extra carburetor that's already been tried and true, so we know this is a good carburetor. Of course, we have our toolbox that has all the usual variety of tools. It also has all our Model A specialty tools like hub pullers, timing wrenches, electrical test lights, just about anything I need to diagnose a problem. We always carry a timing gear and the special tool you need to replace it. I have broke a timing gear out on the road, 75 miles from the nearest town. We changed it on the side of the road, took a couple hours, not difficult, just time consuming. I've also been on a tour with a buddy who has broken a timing gear out on the road. So always carry a timing gear and the special wrench you need to take the nut off. We've got extra points. I've got extra coils. I got extra points and condensers, spark plugs. I do carry extra wheel bearings, radiator hoses, fan belt, and a coil. I have had coils go bad. You wouldn't think they'd go bad instantly, but they can. I carry manifold washers and nuts because I've lost those on the road sometimes. A variety of electrical components like fuses. I also do carry a variety of extra nuts and bolts because if you've watched my videos from when we went to Denver, we lost a couple of nuts and bolts on that trip. So this is just common sense stuff to carry with you so that you have what you need to make any repairs on the side of the road if something does in fact go wrong. So it doesn't take up too much room between the trunk on the back of the car and underneath the storage box underneath the seat. It all fits in there very comfortably. So we are going to wash the car and detail it, and we're going to start packing, and we're getting all excited, and we'll hope to see you down in Ruidoso, New Mexico. Everybody get there safe. We'll see you there.